All right, so you're here with us today because you really want to understand uh, how generative AI is like changing the critical thinking game at work, right? And we've got like a super fascinating deep dive lined up for you based on some seriously cutting-edge research for Carnegie Mellon University and Microsoft Research.
Yeah.
They surveyed over 300 knowledge workers, just like you,
Mm-hmm.
and they gathered real-world examples of how people are actually using this tech.
And this wasn't just any quick little online poll or
Yeah.
anything. This study was published in like the super prestigious CHI 25 conference. So, it's got like some real academic weight behind it.
Okay, so like first things first.
Yeah.
How are knowledge workers like defining critical thinking in this like whole new AI era? Is it like this, super intense philosophical thing?
I kind of went into this whole thing like expecting people to be talking about like, existential dread and like robots taking over.
Yeah.
But it turns out that people are actually like surprisingly practical.
Okay.
For most knowledge workers, critical thinking just boils down to making sure the AI is helping them produce high-quality work.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being like a savvy user and understanding the AI's limitations.
So it's not about like turning into Play-Doh overnight.
Right.
It's more about like being smart about how we actually use AI as a tool.
Exactly. The researchers actually broke down the typical workflow with generative AI into 3 main stages, and critical thinking is like woven through all of them.
Ooh, I love a good framework.
Yeah.
Break it down for us.
So the first stage is all about setting yourself up for success, goal and query formation.
Okay.
This is where you really got to define what you want the AI to do. What's the objective here? What are the like must-haves for the output? And how do you craft the perfect prompt to get exactly what you need?
So prompting itself becomes a credited thinking skill. It's like almost learning a new language to talk to the AI.
Absolutely. And then next comes inspect response, which is where your inner skeptic gets to like shine.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to carefully evaluate the AI's output.
Right.
Is it accurate? Does it hit all the criteria you set in that first stage? Does anything need fact-checking or further research?
Right, because we all know AI can have its moments of, shall we say, creative interpretation.
Exactly. And this is actually where confidence comes into play, both in yourself and the AI.
Oh, interesting.
The researchers found like this fascinating link between confidence and how much critical thinking people actually do.
I would have thought more confidence would lead to more critical thinking, like, hey, I know my stuff, so I'm going to double check everything.
Right.
But it sounds like it's not that simple.
You'd think so, right? But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The more confident people were in the AI,
Mm-hmm.
the less likely they were to actually think critically about the output.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like they go on autopilot, assuming the AI is always right.
So they're basically just like hitting accept without thinking.
Pretty much. But here's the flip side.
Okay.
People who were more confident in their own ability to do the task
Okay.
were more likely to engage in critical thinking.
Interesting.
Even though they saw it as like more work,
Yeah.
they viewed the AI as like a helpful tool, not a replacement for their expertise.
So it's about recognizing the AI's strengths and weaknesses and like knowing where your own expertise fits in.
Exactly. And this is where I'd love for you to kind of reflect on your own work. What's your confidence level when you're using AI? Does it make you more or less likely to really scrutinize what it's giving you?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's something for everyone to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got goals, we've got scrutiny,
Mm-hmm.
but there's one more stage, right?
Right. The final stage is integrate response,
Okay.
which is all about figuring out how to best weave the AI's output into your existing workflow.
Got it.
This can involve like editing, adding your own voice, or even reflecting parts that don't quite fit.
So it's not just copy-paste. There's still a lot of human thinking involved.
Absolutely. You're essentially the director, and the AI is like your talented but sometimes unpredictable assistant.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to shape its output into something that truly meets your needs.
It sounds like we're kind of becoming like editors and curators,
Yeah.
more than just creators in the traditional sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And this study actually found that like the act of critical thinking itself is kind of evolving in some pretty fascinating ways.
Okay, let's talk about those shifts. I'm ready to have my mind blown.
Well, buckle up because it's about to get meta. The researchers identified like 3 key shifts in how we think critically with AI. First, there's information verification, which we kind of touched on earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer enough to just like check sources in the way we used to. AI can like spin some seriously convincing yarns, so we have to develop like a whole new level of skepticism.
It's like the internet on steroids. There's
Yeah.
so much information like flying around, and it's harder than ever to tell what's real.
Right. And AI can kind of blur those lines even further.
Right.
Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, if you needed information for a project, you might have consulted like a few books, maybe some journal articles, or talked to an expert.
Yeah.
Now you can just ask an AI and it'll spit out like pages of seemingly authoritative text in seconds.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it's all accurate or reliable.
So it's about being a super sleuth, cross-referencing everything and not taking anything at face value.
Exactly. And that's not always easy, especially when we're pressed for time.
Right.
But it's essential if we want to use AI effectively and responsibly.
Okay, so information verification is shift number one.
Yep.
What's next?
The second shift is response integration, which we talked about as part of that AI workflow.
Right.
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
We're not just evaluating the AI's output for accuracy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We're thinking about how to like mold it, shape it, and make it our own.
It's almost like we're co-creating with the AI, right? We're bringing our own expertise and judgment to the table.
I think that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
One of the participants in the study talked about using AI to write marketing copy.
Okay.
The AI was great at generating text quickly,
Yeah.
but it lacked that like human touch,
Mm-hmm.
that spark of creativity and personality.
Right.
So they had to step in and really work that copy, adding their own insights and tailoring it to their target audience.
It's about making it sing, right? Bringing that human element that AI, at least for now, just can't replicate.
Exactly. And that brings us to the third shift, which is task stewardship.
Okay.
As we become more comfortable delegating tasks to AI, we need to become like skilled overseers.
So less doing and more managing.
Precisely. We have to set clear goals for the AI, monitor its progress, and intervene when things go off track.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not just managing the task itself.
Right.
We're also managing the relationship with the AI, learning its quirks, and figuring out how to get the best results.
It's almost like we're AI whisperers, right? Learning to communicate effectively and get the AI to perform at its best.
That's a great analogy, and the study highlighted just how important this stewardship role is becoming.
Okay.
One of the participants was a software developer who was using AI to generate code.
Mm-hmm.
They quickly learned that they couldn't just like sit back and let the AI do its thing.
Right.
They had to be constantly engaged, checking the code, making adjustments, and making sure it was aligned with their overall vision for the project.
I think the big takeaway here is that AI isn't this like set it and forget it solution.
Right.
It's a dynamic tool that requires us to be active, engaged, and constantly thinking critically.
Absolutely. And here's where I think it gets really interesting for you as someone who's thinking about all of this in the context of their own work.
Yeah.
These three shifts, information verification, response integration, and task stewardship, are going to play out differently in different professions.
Okay, let's get specific. How might these shifts look different for, say, a lawyer versus a teacher?
Okay, so let's take the lawyer first.
Uh-huh.
Imagine you're a lawyer using AI to research case law. You've got to be like hyper vigilant about information verification,
Right.
making sure those AI-generated summaries are accurate and up to date.
And then there's the whole, like, ethical dimension of the law, right? AI might not always be sensitive to those nuances.
You're hitting on a really important point.
Yeah.
The lawyer has to take on that task stewardship role,
Mm-hmm.
ensuring the AI is used ethically and responsibly.
Okay.
Now let's switch gears to the teacher.
Okay.
They might be using AI to create personalized learning plans for students.
I could see that being a game changer,
Right?
but also a bit daunting.
Absolutely. And in this case, response integration becomes key.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher has to take those AI-generated plans and adapt them to each student's unique needs and learning styles.
Right.
It's about using the AI as a starting point, not a final solution.
So in both cases, the AI is like this powerful tool,
Yeah.
but the human is still the one steering the ship, making the judgment calls, and ensuring the outcome is ethical and effective.
Precisely. And that's why this research is so important.
Hmm.
It's not just about understanding how AI works.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how we need to change the way we think and work to thrive in this new world.
Okay, so we've talked about how AI is like changing all the rules of critical thinking and how those changes could look different depending on what you do for work. But how can we use all of this to actually get better with using AI in our own jobs?
That's like the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
It's one thing to talk about these shifts in thinking, but how do we actually like put them into practice?
Yeah, what are some actual steps we can take?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's about embracing like this whole mindset of always learning.
Okay.
This AI landscape is changing so quickly, like
Mhm.
what's cutting edge today might be obsolete tomorrow. So staying curious and informed is key.
So like subscribing to all those AI newsletters,
Yeah.
attending webinars,
Yeah.
following industry leaders on social media, that's all part of the job now?
Totally. It's like professional development, but for the AI age.
Okay.
And beyond just staying informed, we've got to be proactive about actually improving those critical thinking skills we've been talking about.
Right.
Remember those three shifts:
Yeah.
information verification, response integration, task stewardship?
Yeah.
Those are like your training grounds.
So it's like hitting the gym, but for our minds.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some good mental workouts we can do?
One of the best exercises is honestly just to practice those critical thinking skills while you're working.
Okay.
Let's say you're using AI to help you write a report.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just blindly accept what it spits out.
Yeah.
Take the time to really dig in, fact check the information, think about the logic of the arguments, consider the tone and style, and ask yourself, does this actually meet my needs?
So it's like treating the AI output as a first draft, not the finished product.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to actually get hands-on,
Okay.
edit, rewrite, add your own insights, and really making your own. The more you practice this active integration, the sharper your critical thinking skills will become.
I love that. It's about taking ownership and not letting the AI do all the thinking for us. Now, I think it's fair to say that all of this critical thinking can feel like extra work, especially when deadlines are like breathing down your neck.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. It's so tempting to just let the AI handle things and call it a day.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Critical thinking isn't about making things harder. It's about making sure you're doing things better.
So it's an investment in quality, and in the long run, it actually saves us time and headaches.
Exactly. Now, I know we've talked a lot about the individual level,
Mhm.
but this conversation wouldn't be complete without talking about the bigger picture.
So you're talking about organizations.
Yeah.
How do companies create a culture where AI and critical thinking can both, thrive?
Well, it starts with leadership.
Okay.
If leaders embrace these ideas and model these behaviors, it's going to trickle down throughout the whole organization. And it's not just about saying the right things.
Right.
It's about providing training and resources, encouraging experimentation, and rewarding people for thoughtful use of AI.
So it's about creating a safe space for people to learn, try new things, and maybe even make a few mistakes along the way.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that AI isn't this magical solution to everything.
Right.
It's a tool that requires careful consideration, ethical awareness, and, of course, critical thinking to be used effectively.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. I feel like I have a much better handle on how to navigate this exciting but sometimes kind of overwhelming world of AI. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they venture forth?
I guess I would just say that as we embrace the power of AI, let's not forget the power of our own, human intelligence.
Yeah.
It's our creativity, our empathy, and our critical thinking skills that make us uniquely human. And those qualities will be even more valuable than ever in an AI-powered world.
That's a great reminder. So the takeaway is embrace the AI, hone your critical thinking skills, stay curious, and never stop learning. And hey, who knows? Maybe someday we'll be teaching the AI a thing or two. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.